What is up, everyone? Welcome to my Han Solo Set 2 deck list video. Yeah, I'm super excited to show you guys the deck that I have been practicing with for Set 2. I can already tell you it is a lot of fun and it is so busted, at least in my testing so far. Uh, so let's jump right into it. Things I want to cover in this video are I want to take a step back and look at why we're still playing Han Solo in Set 2. What is the game plan? And I want to cover it in a pretty sort of like simple, basic way. The next thing that I want to cover is the actual list itself. The first 50 cards that I am practicing with. Then I want to cover the standout cards from set two. These are, the cards that as soon as I put them in the deck, they immediately overperformed. And this is the reason why I'm so excited for, continuing to play this deck into set two. Then I want to look into some potential cards that are not in the first 50 uh, list, but they could definitely add something to the deck and, could potentially end up being in the list. Uh, and lastly, I want to look at the cards that I miss dearly, and see if we can, find space for them. So yeah, let's look at the game plan. White hand still set to, well, mainly the ability, uh, the fact that you can ramp better than essentially like any other deck out there is a huge benefit, and we even get new tools to do so in set two. So, put simply, we just want to ramp as fast as possible, and we want to play our top end. Uh, that means our U-Wings, that means our reinforcement walkers, and most importantly, home one. And the other reason why we play Han, who is a mid-range deck, is that we are very, very flexible. If our opponent is faster than us, then we can just control them. If we're playing against another mid-range deck, then we can trade efficiently. If we're playing against something like soft control, we can just turn up the heat early, deal a bunch of damage, and then and that late game point where they start to like turn the game around, we can play something like a change of heart to steal their big unit and then finish the game off. And potentially use a new card that is in set two that you will see in my list to do so. And lastly, if we're playing against something like the very slow event driven hard control decks, we already know how to beat those decks from set one. So we just carry on the same philosophy, which is, slow the game down, use Spark of Hopes, potentially Bodhi Rooks, uh, take their events away, recycle our cards, and then beat them and, throughout this like war of attrition. So yeah, that is our game plan. So let's jump into the list itself. Okay, so on to the fun part. This is the list. Um, let's break it down by the sort of backbone, the most important part of like why we're playing hand, which is the ramp. We are still running 3 copies of resupply. This is your standard, just 3 cost, mega resource. Try to go as fast as possible and play your top end cards. And we're running 2 copies of Spark of Hope. Spark of Hope is a new card. The way it works is you can choose a unit in the discard pile. If that unit was defeated this round, then you can place it in your resource row. So this is an alternative way to ramp. And in order to make this card work, we want to have our small cost units be relatively easy to kill and trade with. So we're still running 3 Greedos because again 3 power and 1 HP, pretty easy for us to like kill it and put it in the resource row with a Spark of Hope. Also Greedo is just probably still the best like 1 cost card. We're running the Battlefield Marine just because 3/3 stat line is very hard to beat. We're running a new card called the Cloud Rider, and this is a 3/1 with Ambush, which again works great in hand because you could just trade into something and bring it, put in the resource row with Spark of Hope, And it's a great card to get from you in reinforcement because you have immediate use. You can just use it to kill something. Uh, and our last 2 cost unit will be 3 Mercenary Gunship. Again, just a card that you can play early. You can use it to just trade with something in space, and a potential target for Spark of Hope. The next thing that I want to talk about is uh, the 3 Hotshot DL 44 blasters. We are no longer running Surprise Strike in the deck, but we are running 3 of these, and this is an immediate standout MVP card. As soon as I played it, um, it just felt great. So how it works is you just put in your resource roll, and then you can smuggle it for 3 cost the unit, and then you can attack with the unit that you put it on immediately. It is such a good card because now you don't need to, be holding on to your surprise strike if you draw them early, and it works great with a couple of units that I'm going to talk about soon. One thing to know is we do run quite a bit of vehicles in this deck, and it doesn't work for vehicles, but you have plenty of targets to use it on. So the first target, actually, that I want to talk about, which is also a new card, is the Sundari Peacekeeper. This card is a beast. It is a 1/5 that costs 3 with Raid 2 and Restore 2. So you put this down early, it is very unlikely that your opponent has a way to deal with it. And the Restore is crucial into the aggro decks that are gonna pop up in set 2. So and also very importantly, it is a hero card which that costs 3. So it is a perfect home 1 target. We're still running Millennium Falcons, which is also your second, or is your first, your best home 1 target, but Peacekeeper is a pretty close second, and sometimes maybe you even want to bring it before the Falcon for the restore. It all depends on the game. We are running Spare the Target, which is similar to Wele. Uh, this one only works on opponent units, but you get to collect the bounty if they happen to have one. The other thing that we're still running is Skirmishers because, again, Han, you're using your cards to ramp, and the fact that you can return a card from the discard is super powerful. And you can still hold on to that very powerful Skirmisher, bring back Greedo, and play Greedo with like 7 resources. Is one of the most powerful plays that you can do in set 1, and we still want to like carry that into set 2. So aside from that, you still have the same top end that you did. You and reinforcement incredibly strong. Hansel unit incredibly strong. Home 1 bringing back Falcons and now Peacekeepers, and you can now include some reinforcement walkers in the main deck. So uh, that is most of the cards. The last thing that I need to talk about are Traitorous and this new card called Choose Sides. So I am still running Traitorous, but this one is a little bit more suspicious going into set 2. I love Traitorous because it is a very strong conditional card. Sometimes it can like outright win you the game, specifically when you're able to steal a super laser tech. So if you can steal the ramp away and then you ramp yourself, you basically win on the spot. And so it is very strong there. However, set 2 has a lot of upgrades and a lot more upgrade hate cards. So this one is I'm still trying it out, but we'll see if it actually ends up making the cut. Okay, and then Shoe Sides is a pretty cool new card. The way it works is you can choose a friendly non-leader unit and an enemy non-leader unit, and then you basically just exchange control of those units. If you saw my last video, I talked about how in the soft control matchup you usually lose because they play a Devastator and they just basically they get to turn the game around, and so it's very important that we play a change of heart against those matchups. Maybe we don't need to do that anymore. If we have something like Choose Sides, maybe now we can just take that Devastator, take that Avenger, and just permanently, use it against them. So this is something I'm trying out, and it's been pretty successful so far. But again, it's very much dependent. Uh, okay, that is most of the list. I think the last thing that I haven't talked about is tech. What an awesome card for hand. Tech, if you get him early, you can just put him in the resource row. He smuggles for 4 resources, and then he allows you to smuggle any card for its cost +2. And if you're getting into a late game situation, Tech is the MVP because even if you're low on cards, if you have Tech in the field, you can sometimes just bring a home one for 10 from your resource row or bring a reinforcement walker and like draw additional cards. Uh, Tech is an awesome card. It's gonna be a standout, I think, card in set 2 for hand. So very excited about that. Uh, So, a couple of cards that I am a little bit, sus about. Again, traders, I already explained why. There will be some more hate cards, so it will be more situational. You have to be more careful when you use it. And at that point, should you include it in the deck? We'll see. Uh, the next one is Mercenary Gunship. It's a decent card, but there might be you might need room for other potentially better cards. The next one is spare the target. Like, should you use this instead of waylay? Hard to know. Will there be a situation where you need to waylay your own unit? Usually, if your opponent plays an entrenched, that would be a place where you may want to like waylay your own unit. We'll have to see. And so if that situation comes up often, then spare the target will probably need to become waylays. And the other one is choose sides. It's a pretty awesome card, but not every deck is going to be playing like very heavy top end things that you need to steal, and it potentially can just be a sideboard card instead of the main deck. All right, so that's the list. Okay, let's look at the standout cards. These are the cards that as soon as I put them in the deck, I was like, "Yep, this is why we're playing hand. This is why set 2 is gonna be a lot of fun." So the first one is Spark of Hope. Like finally, we have a second way to ramp, and we can now sort of match the villain side decks, which had super laser attacks inside one. Well, now we can finally have another way to make resources and get to our late game cards as soon as possible. So Spark of Hope is that immediate standout card. Two is Cloud Rider. Works great with Spark of Hope because it's a 3/1 for with ambush, so you can easily trade into units and then Spark of Hope it to put it into your resource row. The next one is Sundari Peacekeeper. 1/5 with Raid 2 and Restore 2 is such a strong card. It is great into aggro, and it is also just very hard for your opponent to do anything about it. 5 HP is, a really decent amount for a 3-cost card. And most importantly, it is also a hero card, so it is a great target for your home one. Probably your second best target after, Millennium Falcon. Uh, Next is the Blaster. I am so excited for this card. Uh, maybe we don't need to run surprise strikes in the main anymore because we can just get Blaster, resource it, and then bring it out and surprise people with them. Something to know is it does not work on vehicles, and you do run quite a bit of vehicles, but there's still a bunch of targets that it can go on. Specifically, the Peacekeeper is a great target for that. Obviously, your hand leader unit, and just your 7-cost hand unit is a great target. Now you can put the blaster on the hand unit and kill something like a Vader when the Vader leader when it flips. So, crazy strong card. And lastly, it is Tech. I'm so excited for this card because so many times you can get to late game and you don't have you either didn't draw well, you didn't draw your top end, or you had to like put down a reinforcement walker or a home one early into your resource row. Well, now you have a way to play them from there. And so, if you're getting into a super late game situation where tech is in the field, you can pay 10 to bring back a home one. You can pay 9 to bring a hand unit out. So yeah, these are sort of like the reason to play hand, I think, in set two. Okay, let's talk about some cards to watch out for. These cards could potentially be in the list. So first, we're gonna talk about L3. L3 is at worst a 2-2 with a shield, so essentially a crafty smuggler. Because it is a 2-2 with a shield, it means that you will not really be able to trade her, right at the start of the game for a spark of hope. But if the capture mechanic is strong and a nuisance for hand, then you can definitely use L3 to capture, rescue a captured unit. And the fact that she can smuggle is awesome. Uh, the next two cards I want to talk about are Bounty Hunter Corey and Cub Banth. So I think both of these cards are super strong. The fact that you can just put a bounty for one and then potentially play a 3-cost unit, you can bring back either a Millennium Falcon or a Peacekeeper, is really, really strong. It is just about, finding the space in your deck. So this is one that I would definitely recommend trying out. The next one is Cub Banth. I think this card is also very, very strong. The thing with Cub, though, is that he's not a hero unit, so Home 1 cannot bring him back. So it is, the sort of like 3-cost slot if you're trying to run the Home 1 package is pretty limited. And so is it worth running him in the deck? I am not sure yet, but definitely something to try. Uh, Next, Maz as a 1-cost unit, 1/1 that is very easy to just sort of play and just not trade, but really just sort of sacrifice her and then bring her back with Spark of Hope into your resource row is a potential play. But also, she's actually pretty good with U-Wing because you can U-Wing. She only costs one. You can play her first, and then you can play 2 other units, and then she becomes a 3/3. And if you want to live in magical Christmas land or whatever you want to call it, you could maybe U-Wing her, and then maybe you have a second U-Wing, and then she becomes like a 6/6. But it is potentially something to consider. Uh, and the last two I want to talk about are Marauder and Kira. So these I have actually tested myself. I really don't think the when played effects from Marauder, the fact that if you have a card in your discard pile and you also control that same card, you can then put it into your resource row. I don't think that effect really makes a lot of sense in hand. I think it is hard to do, and also by the time that it happens, like I don't think hand benefits that much from it. So if you can play Marauder, I don't think you play it for that effect. You play it because you need a 4/5 in space, and potentially we might want just like that unit with that stat. But I wouldn't play it for the one plate effect. And the second one is Kira. Kira was a card I was very excited for, but in all of my testing, every time I play her, I just feel underwhelmed because usually they will have a way to deal with her, and as soon as she's gone, then that effect is also gone. So I don't think that she can make the cut for the top 50 cards, but something to keep an eye on. And obviously, you're welcome to try it out and see for yourself if it's something that you want to run. So let's talk about the cards that I miss quite a lot, and we might need to find some space for these cards because uh, some of them are pretty strong. The first one is Bright Hope. Bright Hope is incredible in hand. The fact that you can bring Bright Hope back with a home one for a total of 9 resources is huge. Sometimes you even bounce a ground unit and then draw additional cards. It is the way to deal with Avengers. Um, it's just such a good card, and so we might need to make some space for it. That being said, though, the sort of like main 50 cards that I have shown you are so good. So it is not a crazy world that we would live in if it just so happens that we don't run Bright Hopes, at least in the main deck. We'll see. The next one is Echo Base. Just a 4/3 Sentinel that you can bring back with Home One is also something that I miss a lot. Same thing with Leia. So many matchups you actually use her to exhaust the unit. She is basically one of the MVP cards against Boba because when Boba flips, you can just exhaust him and he will not get the 2 additional resources. Uh, so that's another one. And another one that I miss a lot is the lackeys. The fact that you had a ambush card at 5 cost was huge sometimes, and we don't know how prevalent Sabine is gonna be, but the fact that Sabine would flip and then you would just immediately lackey them and kill her was big. So will we need lackeys back? Not sure yet. And then lastly, I'm not sure we're gonna get her back, but if you watch my last video, I'm a huge fan of Mon Mothma. The fact that you can just sort of play her for 2 and get a rebel cards many times at home one. The fact that even if you do miss on home one, you get any other rebel unit, and then you already looked 5 deeper for your top end. Um, was huge. But she would require you to play the Rebel package. And so, if it just happened to be that you need the Bright Hopes, that you need the Echo Base, that you need Leia, and that version of the deck just does better than this new version of the deck, then I could see Mon Mothma making a comeback. But that is only if you're running something like 15 at the minimum, and really you want like around like 18 robo cards. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, these are the cards that I miss a lot, and I think it is definitely worth it to test with at least Bright Hope and at least Echo Based Defenders. Okay, so bonus slide. What goes in the sideboard? So I'm really just focusing on the first 50 cards because I want to figure out sort of like the main version of the deck. But things that I see just go in the sideboard are the booted rooks, most likely because we will still need them into the super hard control matchups. Probably the Bright Hopes, probably the Echo based defenders as like Sentinel units. Uh, Probably L3. I don't know if L3 is a main deck card, but she is probably a really great sideboard card. So uh, we'll see. And then also Change of Hearts. I don't know if Choose Sides is going to be enough, or if it's going to make the main cut version of the deck. So we might still need Change of Hearts in order to deal with all those decks that have a better end game than you do. So and then lastly, maybe Azatox. Azatox is a great way to deal into the aggro decks that have a bunch of space, because generally you're relatively weak. You can play Millennium Falcon turn 1 if they play something like an A-Wing, and then you essentially win the game, but you're not always going to have that answer. And so Azatox is a way to shut them down in space and sort of like turn the game around. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Super excited to be testing set 2. I think Han is going to be a menace. And yeah, I hope you guys have fun with the list. Please let me know if you find cards that are working out for you, cards that are not working out for you. If you think I missed a card, basically anything like that, just hit me up in Discord. I'm happy to talk strat or even get some games in. So yeah, that's all I got. Peace out.